Hey everyone, so here's my review for episode 4 of The Walking Dead. Tonight's episode was absolutely fantastic. That ending was super unexpected, but perfect because of the big Lydia scene that happened earlier. What does this ending mean for the rest of the season or the rest of the first half? We're definitely entering new territory now in this Whisper arc, but before we jump in, I do have to warn you for spoilers for tonight's episode of The Walking Dead. Also, if you're new to the channel and want more Walking Dead content like this, just make sure to be a subscriber. I will be posting a trailer breakdown video for episode 5 later on tonight, so stay tuned for that, along with a lot of different videos on what to expect for the season and all that throughout the week. We've learned some new information on Michonne's exit in this last week. There's also some minor Rick Grimes news, and yeah, so if you want videos breaking down all of that, just make sure to be a subscriber. So the episode is titled Silence the Whisperers, and I think Angela King did a really good job with this arc. We are now around issue 151 or 152. Actually, I think we're around issue 153, I think. Tonight's episode borrowed moments from like 150, 151, 152 and all that and kind of combined it all, which I'm super grateful for because early on, probably before season 9 premiered, around like after All Out War, basically that summer, this was one of my biggest concerns was what would the Whisperer arc look like and how was it going to be handled? Was it going to be a 2-season thing or a 2.5-season thing, almost 3-season thing like the Savior arc was? The Savior arc was 2 seasons, but there was that second half of season 6 that you could argue was kind of it was the intro to the Savior arc. So you could say the Savior arc lasted season 6, 7, and 8, right? I was worried since the Whisperer arc is a lot longer than the Savior arc is in the comic that too would be longer, and then yeah, I was just worried that the pacing would be really off. But Angela King is proving she's cutting out all of the useless plot, and she's kind of getting to the point with a lot of stuff, getting to the point with a lot of major beats, still having supporting stories to make those major beats actually work and more and worth it. Like she'll usually craft a bunch of different storylines for different characters, and they usually will pay off within each episode, and that's the weird thing about it. Moments just don't happen and then have payoffs in the following episode like it was in season 7 and 8. If you notice, whenever they introduce something in a given episode, there's usually a resolution to that in the episode you're watching. That's why each episode feels like it's moving along with a purpose right now, and it's really exciting to watch. With the exception of episode 2 of this season, obviously. It was a great episode, but I would say that was more of a bottle episode. It didn't really move the story that much. I don't want to say bottle episode, but it's kind of in that area anyways. Episode 4, tonight's episode, went through a lot of material, and they chose the perfect characters to fit these storylines from the comic. For one, Lydia took Rick's assassination attempt scene from the comic. What happens in the comic is that Rick is almost killed in the middle of the night by Alexandrians who heavily disagree with his view on the war and etc., just the way he's handling things and all that. In response, Rick rips out one of their throats. He's forced to, and it saves his life. After this, nothing really happens, but Rick slowly agrees to fight back, and there's this whole speech thing and stuff that happens afterwards, but we'll talk about that in future episodes. Daryl could take some of this stuff in episode 5 or 6, we'll see. The point is, this happens to Rick in the comic. But we got a very different version here tonight with Lydia, where she's the one getting attacked, first of all for being a whisperer, and second of all for killing them with kindness. I just love that scene, like where she's like, shh, because that totally got under Margot's skin, no pun intended. But Negan does rescue Lydia, which was super awesome, but he accidentally kills Margot, which was a holy shit moment for me. I was not expecting that. Like, what? Negan kills an Alexandrian? Like, that was the first time he's done that in... I mean, it's been years. They're definitely coming for his head, and they actually did. They actually had a vote on whether or not they should kill him, which is crazy. You had Gabriel, Aaron, Daryl, along with a few others, and they were deciding on whether or not they should kill Negan for what he did. Daryl had Michonne's vote because they had talked earlier on the radio about the incident, and Michonne gave Daryl the right to vote for her, so Daryl did and voted no. Aaron as well, because he and Daryl both believed Lydia that Negan wouldn't kill Margot, so right there is some actual support for Negan. Like, that's already different right there. This wouldn't have happened 6 years ago. Or, like, are you kidding me? If Negan killed someone back when Rick was still around there, like in early season 9, Daryl and everyone, especially Daryl, would want him dead. But before they could even decide, Lydia apparently lets Negan out. I could have got that part wrong. I'm pretty sure it was Lydia, though, which is, I'm really interested in seeing how that turns out. But he's out now, and that's kind of the point, right? He's actually out now, and he's never going back in that cell. Just based on comic material anyways, he's not going back there. When he returns to Alexandria later, I guess I won't spoil what happens, but It's pretty brutal. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, his days in that cell are now over. I was not expecting this to happen until episode 5, but I was pretty close with it. End of episode 4 makes sense that you would end this episode on a cliffhanger like that. The way they handled Silence the Whisperers, I thought was amazing. Lydia getting teased really, really badly. I mean, what happened with her and Negan later was kind of inevitable. Thankfully, Negan was there though. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened. There were some great Daryl and Lydia scenes too. Great Daryl and Negan scenes too, actually. Daryl was telling Lydia to stay away from him, like he's not your friend, where of course Lydia is just going to disagree. Because he's the only person there that actually understands her. They're both outcasts in that community. So where does this go now? Well, I'll talk about that in my trailer breakdown for episode 5. Because Negan's definitely meeting up with the Whisperer soon. He's going to meet Beta. We're going to get a lot of hilarious scenes, a lot of very, very interesting scenes coming up very soon. So yeah, it's coming, and I think it's coming a lot sooner than we all think. I kept thinking he was going to meet Beta in episode 7, but just because this happened so soon, I'm thinking it's going to be a lot sooner. He might meet Beta at the end of episode 5, but we'll get the Beta and Negan scenes in episode 6. At least as of now, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Because he's just out in the woods now, right? He just has to run into Beta. There's nothing else for him out there. There's stuff with Brandon Rose, or I guess Brandon, that they have to work through, but it's pretty simple. If you know the comic, like what happens there is pretty simple. Angela Kang could change some stuff there, but it's pretty straightforward. He's running into Beta soon. Now, some other big revelations happened. The Michonne and Ezekiel kiss happened, and of course it was a fake out. It did actually happen. It wasn't a dream sequence or a hallucination. It did happen, but it was in a moment sort of thing. Like Ezekiel apologized, Michonne was like, oh, it's cool. But I do want to point out that the kiss actually happened for a bit longer than I was expecting. It wasn't just like this kiss that just kind of ended. It wasn't like this fast kiss, you know, there was actually something there, I think, for Michonne. Maybe for Ezekiel, but for Michonne. She didn't pull away right away. I don't know if you guys noticed that. And I'm wondering if the reason she didn't pull away is because, I mean, she hasn't kissed anybody in like years. She actually says that. She says, besides her kids, it's been like 6 years. So obviously the last man she kissed was Rick. I do think this moment is going to awaken something within Michonne. I really think that kiss is going to do something for her for the next how many more episodes, because she might be thinking now that it's time to move forward and that she might want to try and find, or just find other ways to be happy, right? Or maybe she can't. Maybe that kiss actually does something worse for her where she's like, she really can't get over Rick or something like that. I don't know. I think it's going to do something for her personally. So we'll see what happens to Michonne because of this, but I do think it's going to set up her mindset going into her last few episodes, because she only has like a couple left now. I don't think she's in episode 5 just based off the trailer. She's not in that episode. Maybe not even in episode 6. So her time on the show is running out. Episode 12, I believe, is her last one. If I'm being honest, I really feel like Michonne's going to find out very, very soon, maybe even in the mid-season finale, that Rick is alive. Thus, that ending there in the mid-season finale will set up her exit for episode 12, because for those last few episodes, she's going to be dealing with, well, do I leave to go and get him? What do I do? Because there's this whole Whisperer thing. Because if you think about it, it's almost too quick to reveal, or to Michonne that Rick's alive, and to have her learn that and then leave in the same episode. That's a lot of stuff to work through in a standalone episode. So I think we're going to find out beforehand, or she's going to find out beforehand about Rick, maybe in episode 8. It's going to be somewhere between episode 8 and episode 11. On Ezekiel, is it just me, or does it seem like he's suicidal at this point? I mean, he was standing at the edge of a bridge, or I guess cliff. I don't know whether or not he was thinking of jumping or not. But with where things left off, he's very much in that mindset of just, he's empty and he's going really from day to day. He's still on my death predictions list. Tonight's episode did nothing to get him off that. I see something happening in the future where, I don't know, he's put in a very tricky situation which results in his death. Because where do you go with that character at this point? He's lost everything. Maybe you can build something with him and try, where he can find something else in life to live for. But he's lost so much from where it went since he was introduced. I just don't see that character going anywhere. I really think he's going to die this season. It's sad, but I don't know. I don't know where else you go with Ezekiel at this point. The Hilltop Horde scene ended up being not that big of a deal. Ended up being like a tree that fell down or something like that. And yeah, they dealt with the walkers, and it doesn't seem to be Whisperer related, though the residents of the Hilltop are thinking it is, much like Alexandria. There's just a lot of paranoia everywhere. Michonne and Judith showed up and fought the Horde. Judith is awesome. She's definitely not like Carl, because Carl back in the day at this age was too scared to shoot a gun. Or I guess when shooting a gun, he would hesitate. And, like Judith is trained in everything, which of course, the reason for this is because of, the very nature of her upbringing, right? Judith is growing up in an apocalypse. She was born in one. Carl lived like what, 6 to 8, 9 years or something like that in a pre-apocalyptic world before it all went down. So that's your explanation for that. But the scene was a lot of fun, lots of drama between Magna and Yumiko, mostly just relationship stuff. Yumiko not listening to Magna's suggestions and so forth. Nothing really noteworthy happened there. But the episode was great overall. I don't want to say the same thing again, but I'm gonna. I liked this one more than I did with the third one because of the ending and stuff that happened throughout with Lydia. We're only 4 episodes into the season, and despite the slow start, I'm really enjoying the season. But tonight's episode was super great. Some really great moments by Jeffrey Dean Morgan, by Cassidy McClincy. I was not let down by the Silence the Whisperers arc at all. There's still some stuff there to do from the comic, but now the search is for Negan, and though they might not be too worried about him because he's just one man and I doubt he's going to be able to get an army, right? They're probably more worried that Negan's going to set off something with the Whisperers by crossing their border. And because of that, I think that's why they're going to go on the search for him. But he is going to cross that border. He's going to intentionally cross that border. There's a reason he broke out. There's a reason he actually left Alexandria. And that's to join the Whisperers. And so where does that go? Well, we'll talk about that, I guess, in my trailer breakdown. I won't spoil it here, but yeah, just so you guys know, you best be getting hyped. So let me know what you guys thought of tonight's episode down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Make sure to be a subscriber if you want more Walking Dead content like this, and I'll see you guys later tonight in my trailer breakdown for episode 5, titled What It Always Is.